On Tech News today, Brit spies caught watching Yahoo sex chats, Boeing makes a self-destructing spy phone, and Google's Project Aura modular phone concept gets real. All that and more coming up next.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for Tech News Today is provided by CacheFly at CACHEFLY.com.
It's Thursday, February 27th, 2014, and this is Tech News Today. This episode of Tech News Today is brought to you by ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter makes hiring faster, easier, and cheaper. Post your job to 50-plus job boards with one click. Try ZipRecruiter with a free 4-day trial now at ZipRecruiter.com/TNT. That's ZipRecruiter.com/TNT. And by Squarespace, the all-in-one platform that makes it fast and easy to create your own professional website or online portfolio. For a free 2-week trial and 10% off, go to squarespace.com and use the offer code TNT2. Welcome to Tech News Today. I'm Mike Elgin.
And I'm Jason Howell.
Tech News Today explores the most important stories of the day in conversation with the world's leading journalists. Our co-anchor this week is Natalie Morris, a contributor to The Today Show, CNBC, The Queen Latifah Show, and she's a former anchor for CNET TV. She's also the co-founder of ReadQuick, a speed reading app for iOS. And if you want to learn more about that, you can see yesterday's show where she told us all about it. Welcome, Natalie.
Thank you. Good to be back.
How you doing today?
I'm good.
All right.
Hanging in.
You ready for some crazy, crazy news?
I am. I'm ready to get all fired up about people capturing nudity on webcams.
Yeah.
That's a teaser, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a teaser. Let's get right into the webcam nudity. The UK version of the NSA, which is called the GCHQ, collected pictures from the Yahoo webcam chats of millions of users all over the world, according to a story today in the Guardian newspaper. Codenamed Optic Nerve, one of the more boring code names, the capturing of pictures took place between 2008 and 2010 and involved many people not even suspected of crimes. Literally millions of people not suspected. The GCHQ says their program was legal. John Brodkin is a reporter for Ars Technica, and he joins us to explain this story. Welcome, John.
How you doing?
I'm doing great, other than this unsettling news. Of course, I'm not a Yahoo user, so that's not that unsettling to me personally. But
so do you use a service to send your nude pictures? Or
right, yeah, can I get a copy? Can they send me a copy? So how did
No, we have it tiered over here. There's certain services you use for nudity, like Skype, and then certain ones you use for maybe PG-13, like Yahoo, and then AIM is just the wild, wild west.
That's right. That's right. Excellent tips. This is also a how-to show and where to. So how did Optic Nerve work exactly? How do they collect these pictures?
I don't think we know the exact method of collection, but there's a program where I think they tap into the fiber optic cables coming out of Yahoo data centers. And the most important thing here is probably that Yahoo Messenger chats are not encrypted today. Now, Yahoo, because of all this NSA stuff, has said by the end of this quarter, they're going to have optional encryption for all of its services. Recently, they made encryption. They turned encryption on by default for mail, but with Messenger, it's not even an option yet.
Now, do you think that encryption is really going to be able to stop this kind of stuff? I mean, these spy agencies, especially with the NSA, which was involved in this, they may be able to break this kind of mass deployed encryption, don't you think?
Yeah, I mean, if they really want something specific, they probably have ways of breaking encryption, but it raises the difficulty level a lot. Like Skype is encrypted. We haven't heard about nude pictures being stolen from Skype. There have been some stories a few months ago that some Skype information was leaked, like user IDs. It's not really clear if the government actually broke the encryption there. At the very least, it does make it a lot harder, and I think it makes it less likely that random people's information will be stolen, because to break encryption, you kind of need to be targeting a specific person usually.
And I have questions about their technical ability here. It says that they didn't have the technology to make sure that it wasn't saved, which I'm like, how do they not have, how can they get it, but then not have the technology to not save it? Doesn't that seem weird?
I'm not sure what that was. I think they were talking about they didn't have the technology not to distinguish between people who were targets and weren't, but they put in some safeguards, like analysts weren't supposed to
keep it or something like it's all very unclear what they could do and what they did do, and what they were actually even looking for, because the nudity is part of it that we all think is funny, but they weren't really looking for nudity, right?
Right. They're looking for specific targets, and then in some cases, people with similar names of those targets end up coming up in their searches of the database. And for a while, they were apparently testing out facial recognition software, which would, if they knew what the face of a person looked like, they could find it through the images in the webcam chats.
Now, Natalie said that the nudity part is, some people think it's funny. I'm one of those people. I think it's hilarious, especially from this report. There's always comedy in these revelations, but the document that that this is based on, which of course is part of the Edward Snowden trove that is the gift that keeps on giving, said that between 3% and 11% of the Yahoo webcam imagery harvested by GCHQ contains, quote, undesirable nudity. I think it's hilarious that that they're judging it, essentially. They didn't say how much desirable nudity was in there. That figure was not put in the report.
And could there be such a thing? Like maybe you're webcamming with your doctor and you're like, what is this right here?
That's right.
That's desirable nudity, whereas anything in the prurient interest is not.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny that they're editorializing about the content that they stole. But now you had mentioned that they were testing face recognition software. Now the NSA was involved in that part of it, weren't they?
I think so. What they were doing was they were taking their data and putting it into the NSA system, which is called XKeyscore, and that's a search tool. The facial recognition, I'm not sure if that probably was related to the same search tool, but I think they were concerned about the legalities of it, and they hadn't rolled that out en masse, but they were using it. And they were also talking about using things like the Kinect camera and the Xbox 360 and trying to figure out if they could use that as part of their data collection.
And does it seem plausible that Yahoo really didn't know about this? Because in the article, they seem to express outrage, I say, that this was happening.
I don't know if that's plausible or not, but I mean, the fact that they weren't encrypting just shows that it was a little bit careless. You know, they should have realized that it's possible if, someone could get into these things if they're not encrypted. Going back to the technical means that you were talking about earlier, I think what that was is they didn't have the technical means to distinguish between US and UK citizens and foreigners who are, supposedly there are fewer restrictions on what you can collect from foreigners and more restrictions on what you can collect from your own citizens.
Oh, I see.
I think one of the astonishing things in all this is the denial of illegality. I mean, how could it possibly be legal or okay for the GCHQ to harvest just random people from all over the world, internal UK people, US people, global people all over the world, then share that with the NSA. The NSA is getting information, pictures and so on of Americans because that's part of the trove, and they don't know who's American, who isn't American. They're passing it back and forth. And of course, the GCHQ claims that they have internal safeguards. They didn't really share the pictures with the agents or the employees of the GCHQ, only metadata. There's the metadata raising its ugly head again. And, it's these denials and this claim of legality just sounds strange. It can't possibly be legal for a spy agency in the UK to do something like that, it seems to me.
Well, I mean, in the US, we have a secret court, the FISA court or FISC court, and they've basically ruled that it is legal. They can, collect all this information and they can search it when they have a need to. I think Obama has promised some reforms, but I don't think we know exactly what the specific ones will be yet.
All right, John, well, thank you for explaining this story to us. It's a fascinating development, and of course, we'll be seeing this unfold over the coming weeks ahead. Thanks again for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
You can find John at arstechnica.com and also on Twitter at JBRODKIN, Jay Brodkin. All right, in a sec, I'm going to tell you about Boeing's secret spy phone. But first, I want to tell you about a fantastic service called ZipRecruiter. If you own a small business, if you're a manager in a business of any size, if you hire people, the most important decision I can assure you that you will ever make is who you hire. You have to hire the best people, and if you don't, you're going to end up with a staff of mediocre talent, and you're not going to have the ability to meet your goals as a business. So it's very, very important that you do everything you can to hire the very best people, and that's what ZipRecruiter is all about. Now, there are job boards all over the place. This is one of the challenges of hiring. You can go to one, and then another, and then another, and then another. Nobody has time to really go through all of these job boards where the best employees may be spread out throughout the internet. ZipRecruiter enables you to post your job ad to 50 or more sites all at once with a single click. That's pretty fascinating. They'll even post them on social networks like LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, and Google+. This is how you hire the best employees. You blanket the internet with your job post, and that way you can make sure that you find the very, very best folks. And they'll help you in other ways to find the best employees as well. You can add unlimited users to your account so you can get more people involved in the search. And you post once and you watch the qualified candidates roll in. ZipRecruiter.com will automatically highlight the best candidates. Now that's super helpful because in some cases you'll post a job and you'll get thousands of replies. What are you going to do with that? ZipRecruiter will help you narrow down the best choices, and then you can go through and spend your time wisely and finding the very best candidates. So you screen them, you rate them, then you hire the right person fast. Try ZipRecruiter and find out why they've been used by over 100,000 businesses. Right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for a free 4-day trial by going to ZipRecruiter.com/TNT. That's ZipRecruiter.com/TNT, and we thank ZipRecruiter for their support of Tech News Today. Boeing, yeah, the company that makes jets and drones, really is getting into the smartphone racket. Confirming a 2-year-old rumor, Boeing is building a super secure Android phone for American spies and government agencies called the Boeing Black. We learned about this the same way we learned about many secret smartphones, through documents filed with the FCC. Now, this is yet another super secure phone, Natalie, and the first one is also got Black in the name. We talked about that, and we're going to be talking about it again in a little while in the show. But this is kind of a fascinating phone. I think one of the most fascinating things about it is if you try to tamper with it, it erases all the data. If you, for example, if you physically try to take the back off of this phone, it'll actually destroy itself, destroy the data on the phone.
This phone will self-destruct.
That's right. I want a phone that smokes and and then explodes physically and dangerously if somebody tampers with it. But this is an interesting thing for a defense contractor, a company that makes rockets, to get into the smartphone handset business.
Yeah, I agree, but they think they can make things that are, I guess, more durable and made for the double agent spy, I guess. And I remember when President Obama took office, we talked about the phone that he was going to be allowed to use was going to be highly modified BlackBerry with, I don't know, bulletproof and all these different security and on top of security on top of security. So I guess if you're the president, you need this. I don't know. Who else do we think needs this? Let's brainstorm here.
Well, the NSA
James
needs
Bond.
it. Yeah, right?
Yeah.
The NSA and the GCHQ need it because they don't want to have happen to them what they are doing to all of us.
Nick Fury needs one of these.
That's right. And if you saw the phone, it's really thick, and it's also you can use it for self-protection. Just bludgeon somebody with it, and they will be knocked out of commission right away. Now, the document filed with the FCC has all kinds of juicy details. For example, a letter accompanying the filing says the device will be marketed and sold in a manner such that low-level technical and operational information about the product will not be provided by the general to the public. So basically, what they're saying is that the details of this are a secret, essentially, and they're going to get out, but still they're going to try to keep them secret. And
the government wants this so that other people can't do to them what they do to us.
Right, precisely. And again, they're claiming it's modular construction. We're going to hear about a phone in a second that has truly modular construction, but the phone itself is 5.2 inches tall, and it allows you to attach other devices like for location tracking, solar charging. This actually sounds like a pretty cool phone. I wouldn't mind something like this, but it's 50% heavier than an iPhone and twice as thick, and probably 10 times more expensive, because that's really, this is a defense contractor selling to the Pentagon after all. So this is not going to be cheap, I can assure you.
Right, and if you leave one of these in the bar, they come and kill you.
Right, exactly. So let's talk about a truly modular phone. Google announced yesterday that it will host 3 conferences on its Project Aura phone. Now, conferences themselves aren't very interesting, but this news tells us that Google is actually serious about turning the phone concept into a real phone you can actually buy. Harry McCracken wrote an extensive feature on the Aura project, which was published yesterday, and he's here to tell us all about it. Welcome, Harry.
Hey there.
Okay, so can you remind us about the rumors and the facts about Project Aura? What is Project Aura exactly?
Well, as Google describes it, and this started as a Motorola effort, but Google held on to it when they sold Motorola to Lenovo. As Google describes it, Project Aura is about doing to hardware what Android did for software. It's about creating a phone where every single component, including the screen, the radio, the Wi-Fi, the camera, is modular. And so when you get a new phone, you don't have to choose, get the camera that Samsung or HTC or Apple thinks you should have. You might be able to choose from 10 cameras. Very small companies might be able to make modules for special purposes that a big company would never build into a phone. And it all slides together into this framework. And Google is making the framework, and Google is defining the platform.
So it's like track housing for a phone, basically.
Pretty much, yeah. And it sounds blocky and unwieldy. The prototype I saw, which was, I should say, is not a working prototype. That's going to be around in a few weeks. But what I saw looked surprisingly slick. It's thicker than an iPhone, but it's only a tiny bit thicker than the HTC One, which I use. It uses magnets to hold everything together. It actually looks kind of stylish in its own way.
Kind of a Mondrian look with the sort of the squares all over it.
Exactly.
Yeah. So now this project is big on 3D printing. They're trying to get 3D printing involved in the construction of these modules. Is that right?
That's right. They're working with a big company called 3D Systems, which makes 3D printers. And the enclosures for these modules would be 3D printed for you. And so they could be any color. You could have, a photograph of your sweetheart put on it. They're also talking about doing different shapes. One of the prototypes they have has dozens of tiny soccer balls printed onto the surface. And in order to do that, 3D Systems has to invent a lot of technology that doesn't work yet, and they need to be able to do an enclosure which is kind of consumer grade in a way that most 3D printing is not today.
Did you hear anything in your conversations and kind of taking a look at this in person about durability of the device? Because when you think of a device that's kind of pieced together like Legos, you almost think like if it drops once, it's just going to fall into a million pieces. And maybe actually that's a good thing, because then you have the weaknesses.
Then you just put it right back together.
Yeah, exactly. Instead of it being one solid thing that just breaks when it hits the ground. What did you think of durability?
Well, they say that it will be sort of environmentally as safe as anything in terms of moisture and water and so forth. They admit they have not done the drop tests yet because they need to finish up their working prototype first. And when they do that, they'll drop it. And they'll do a test where they put it into a simulated purse and then jostle it around to see how it would survive there. But obviously, they're attempting to create something that would survive a drop okay.
Yeah.
And, today's phones that are one piece don't survive drops all that well. So the bar is not all that high there.
Absolutely.
You're right. And this seems like something that would be really expensive to manufacture. But in your post, you point out that they're aiming to make it not very expensive for consumers, right?
Yeah, they see the target market as not gadget geeks. They want to sell this to people who maybe don't have a smartphone at all right now. And so they're attempting to do something they call a gray phone, which is a $50 version, which is so basic it actually doesn't have a cellular connection. It only does Wi-Fi. But the notion is that somebody who can only afford a $50 phone could buy that today, and then over time upgrade it as their budget allows.
Now, there's a phone blocks concept that is associated with this. What is phone blocks exactly? Is that a community, or what is that?
Well, the amazing thing is a few weeks before Google was getting ready to announce this, this guy in the Netherlands, Dave Hawkins, who's an industrial designer, came up with a concept for something he called phone blocks. And he's not an engineer, so his goal is to get people excited about this phone blocks concept, which was very similar to Project Aura, in hopes that the industry would embrace it. And he did get lots of excitement. 1 million people watched his YouTube video. And the folks at Motorola were kind of startled to see this happen as they were getting ready to announce Project Aura.
Wow.
And so they ended up working with Dave and Phone Blocks. And Phone Blocks is kind of a community where if you're excited about this general idea, you can be part of Phone Blocks and suggest stuff which might become part of Project Aura.
Now, there are a few other details in your article that are really interesting. And of course, the Aura, Project Aura is part of the Advanced Technology and Projects Group from Motorola, which Google is keeping and not selling to Lenovo. This phone is currently targeted to come in 3 sizes, a mini, medium, and jumbo size. I want the jumbo one. And it's all put together by something they call an endoskeleton, or an endo, which for short, which actually has electrical connections internally on the phone. I have no idea how they're going to do this, but this is geek heaven, and you know, the concept that they're really going to do this. I was astonished when I heard the rumors back in October. I thought, there's no way this is going to come to market. They're not really serious about this. This is just, they're playing around. But these conferences and, you know, SDKs and the whole bit, they're really serious about this, aren't they?
Well, it kind of went from something that sounded like a concept of the phone of the future to something which Google is at least going to try to do very, very rapidly. And they're part of this ATAP group where the whole philosophy is to be very mean and lean and quick. So there are only 3 people who work for Google working on this. And most of the heavy lifting is being done by outside companies. And ATAP projects have a 2-year time frame. And they've been working on this for roughly a year. So they sort of have one more year to go until it has to be on the market, or they'll just move on to something else.
Well, it's all very fascinating, and I hope we get a ton of new information when they actually hold these conferences. It's really an incredible development, and if this thing takes off, this could completely revolutionize, theoretically, the smartphone industry, because you know, after seeing Mobile World Congress, the phones seem, you know, to kind of reached a plateau of excitement, and something like this could really transform things. So I thank you for coming on, Harry, and telling us about Project Aura.
Thank you.
All right. Well, you can find Harry McCracken, of course, at time.com and on Twitter at Harry McCracken. Google, again, launched Google's in the news every day with lots of stories. Google launched a new online education tool called Opia today. It's an open source project that enables anyone to create interactive learning activities called explorations. They can be put together collaboratively by multiple people, and these people can have 0 programming experience. And then once they've finished a project, they can embed it into any web page. This seems like, Natalie, this seems like a pretty cool thing. And it's, you know, everybody needs to teach other people things. You need to train employees. You know, companies that sell things need to teach their customers how to use them. This sounds, at least in concept, like a great idea. What do you think?
Yeah, but I'm a little confused because they've been doing pretty much the same thing with Google Helpouts on Air. So how is this different? Do you know?
Yeah. Yeah,
I just had a briefing actually with someone about Google Helpouts, and that's kind of this. It's not an academic learning environment. It's more of like something you've always wanted to learn.
Yeah.
And you can create lesson plans, and you can charge for your lesson plans, and it's. But it looks like this.
Yeah, this is more like a tool, and who knows that. I mean, I can see these working together, especially since you can embed. If you can embed these in, they say, any web page, I'm sure that Google will figure out a way to embed these in Google Plus and Google Helpouts, and that would be awesome. But basically, the way this works is if you're building a project, you have something that they call a mentor, which is like a, I don't know, like a Clippy or a Microsoft Bob type thing. I'm making it sound horrible, but it's basically an online question and answer thing, and they ask you questions, and then based on what your answer is, they ask you different questions, and as you answer the questions, it constructs this sort of help tool that can be posted anywhere. It gathers data on how learners interact with it, and it offers it to exploration authors so they can fix shortcomings. There's this whole built-in system for making things and tweaking things, making them better, and just ending up with a really nice project.
Oh, I get it. It's sort of like Yahoo Answers, a little bit like that, where you can go and find other people's thought process about some kind of question, and ring in on it and that kind of thing. Yahoo Answers, by the way, is still one of their most popular and successful products. It's still something that lives on, and maybe they actually are going after that audience because no one's been able to duplicate that kind of success in the question and answer. A lot of people have tried. I haven't seen any.
And they're also working on a user interface for mobile devices. So this is pretty cool, and you know, I can't wait to try it, figure out if it's really as easy to use as they want it to be. Well, there are some big stories coming out of Mobile World Congress this week, but there are also some small stories. The shows like this bring to the surface weird and ill-advised new products, and some of these were put together by a writer named Sierra Byrne. I'm probably pronouncing that incorrectly. And some of them were pretty cool, and we've covered them before. I think we've mentioned the BrewBot, which is a beer brewing system for, you know, controlled by smartphones. I definitely want that, but that's been around for a while. That was a Kickstarter project all year last year. The Black Phone, which of course is the secure phone that has been talked about from Silent Circle and a Spanish smartphone company, Geeks Phone. That's been shown. That's pretty interesting. The Oral-B interactive toothbrush is kind of interesting, but there's something that I hadn't seen. It's called the Fujitsu Glove. It's like a haptic a device that enables you to do sort of augmented reality. So we got to get a copy of that thing in here and find out how that really works. So
and do some Yahoo video chatting with it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, personally,
you see where I'm going with that?
Yeah, I mean, personally, I think it shows that have these like offbeat stuff is some of the funnest things, and they tend to be, some of them tend to be really undercovered. So, so we'll be covering Mobile World Congress next year from the show, and we'll uncover the big stories and also the goofy ones like this one.
It's so funny. Someone actually put a lot of money and effort into that, thinking this is the next big thing.
Yeah.
You know?
It's incredible. Although I'll tell you, the BrewBot is the next big thing. Home brew beer brewing is coming, and smartphone controlled. I can't wait to try these new Kickstarter projects like the BrewBot. I think BrewBot is one of the ones that's the furthest ahead. There's another one that actually goes right on your kitchen counter, which looks pretty cool.
And I use the toothbrush. I would give that a shot. Why not?
Why not?
Yeah, you know, what some of the things that it's supposed to do is time how long you should be brushing for, because most people just kind of phone it in and move the brush around and then they're done, and then it sends you little badges and syncs with your smartphone and tells you, you know, this, that, and the other.
Doesn't it also rat you out to the dentist and tell the dentist that you're not really brushing right?
I think so. I think you can send that data to the dentist. I don't know if it's that serious. My dentist probably would be like, why are you emailing me? But yeah, maybe some people really need that kind of little push.
My prediction is that they will come out with a smart toothbrush within the next year or two that has a camera on the end of it, so you can see the inside of your mouth as you brush your teeth.
Oh, that's yucky.
Maybe even project it on the mirror there. That would be a horrible development. Well, we're gonna hear from some readers in just a sec. But first, I want to tell you about Squarespace. Squarespace is the all-in-one platform that makes it fast and easy to create your own professional website or online portfolio. Now, listen, if you're going to put a website on the internet, you want to do it right. If you have an ugly or amateurish-looking website or a website that has poor performance, then people are going to think you don't know what you're doing, and whatever it is that you're selling or whatever you're trying to communicate is going to be very ineffective. So what you want to do is do the smart thing and go to squarespace.com and build your website there. They host it, of course, and they have so much processing power and flexible system that if you all of a sudden get flooded with traffic, they'll just throw all kinds of processing power at it, and the site will not go down. I know that Leo on the Twit show has tried a gazillion times to send the Twit army at a Squarespace site to see if they can bring it down, and they've never been able to do it. It pretty much can't be done as far as I know. Now, Squarespace has 25 beautiful templates for you to start with. And when I say beautiful, I mean they are really, really nice, really well designed. And then you can, of course, customize them and build your own unique site. They've been building some really interesting TV commercials lately, one for the Super Bowl, and more recently, one that emphasizes the importance of the little details in your website. You can find those at blog.squarespace.com. They're really, really nice ads. Squarespace is very easy to use, but if you do need help, they have it email support 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and also live chat support. They're mobile ready. The Squarespace sites automatically look fantastic on phones and tablets, as well as on, of course, desktops and laptops. They have something called the Squarespace Metric app, which lets you control your website from an iPhone or an iPad, and also a blog app that lets you do the same thing from, if you actually happen to have a blog. They also have a new a service called the Logo Creator Tool. You can build your own Lego. They turn you into a designer. You're essentially a computer-aided designer. And once you have your logo, of course, that can be your official logo for your company, which you can trademark and so on. So start a free 2-week trial with no credit card required and start building your website today. When you decide to sign up for Squarespace, make sure you use the offer code TNT2. That will get you 10% off. And it'll also show your support for Tech News Today. And I would appreciate it if you would use TNT2 when you sign up for Squarespace. And you really should. We thank Squarespace for their support of Tech News Today. And remember that a better web awaits. And it all starts with your new Squarespace website. Well, TNT fan Luigi Claudio emailed us to give us his thoughts about Samsung's Mobile World Congress announcements. He wrote, "As a user experience designer with a background in industrial design, I'm really impressed by the process of product design and releases that Samsung has undertaken with this product. I'm also impressed by how a company as big as Samsung has just released an update to their first version of the Galaxy Gear smartwatch after only 6 months, if not less." He said that he believes the swift product cycle, iteration, and release would not have been possible if one of the requirements had been the compatibility with Android phones that are not engineered and built by Samsung. It's an interesting point, but he's basically saying that the fact that the Galaxy Gear smartwatches only work with other Samsung phones is worth it because it enables them to quickly iterate. He also said that he loves the show, Tech News Today, and that, quote, Natalie as a co-anchor is awesome.
Oh.
Yes, but we already knew
paid
that.
him to say that.
We already knew that. And another reader named Sean Whitehurst essentially supported Samsung's decision to support only Samsung phones with their smartwatch line. And he wrote, "Why is there all the dislike for Samsung making devices that only pair with their own devices? Isn't Samsung's best interest to get everyone into the Samsung world and use their app store so they can make money?" And that is also a good point. We had been sort of giving Samsung a hard time all week about the fact that their watches don't work with non-Samsung phones. And, you know, I kind of believe that it's in Samsung's interest to get those smartwatches out and onto as many wrists as possible so people can discover that they, in fact, like Samsung industrial design, especially the Gear Fit watch, which looks beautiful and won an award at the show for design. So this is a good point. You know, Samsung is a huge company. They certainly have a lot of customers. So if they require people to use Samsung phones, they're essentially targeting into a very, very large user base.
Yes, but because they're a big company, they also have a lot of really good accountants that can tell them exactly what that opportunity cost is of closing your system that way. And surely it's pretty big. I would imagine it's pretty big because the Android world is so vast. You're saying we're going to block these people out of using this product. So, maybe the sales price is such that they think they can afford that opportunity cost, but I've got to imagine it's still big.
Yeah. I think I'm just personally bitter because I want a Samsung Gear Fit, and I'm a Moto X user, and I have no plans of switching from the Moto X. So I think I'm just personally want one of those watches, and I can't use it because they didn't.
Maybe you can hack it. Call the NSA.
That's right. There you go. Great idea. Well, you may have heard about IBM's cognitive computers, which are designed to develop creative computers that can think like humans do. Well, one of their projects is a computer that can create new kinds of food recipes. They're mostly mashups of existing foods, like, you know, they have things like chocolate burritos and Turkish bruschetta and so on. Well, soon you might get a chance to taste some of the computer's creations. IBM has partnered with the Institute of Culinary Education to take an IBM food truck on a tour across the United States. The truck's next stop is Austin, Texas, for the South by Southwest Festival, which begins March 3rd. I don't know, chocolate burrito. This thing is coming out with some wacky recipes. Still, I'd like to try it.
This sort of gives a whole new sense to the term processed food because the concept has been processed, but it actually is made by human hands, right?
Yeah.
So, okay, that's a little bit less offensive.
It's basically just telling the chefs how to make certain types of wacky foods that nobody's ever thought of. And some of the chefs that they interview in their sort of promotional video say that they have actually learned something from the computer about how to mix ingredients, how to balance flavors, and all that kind of stuff. I'll believe it when I taste it. This to me is the best reason I've heard yet to go to South by Southwest. You can try the chocolate burrito.
Is the food. That's right. And so it knows, it has a database of what is available in the truck. And then it says, take this, that, and the other, right?
Who knows? I mean, it's...
it can't tell you to go get cactus or whatever if you don't have it.
Exactly.
Yeah. Obviously, Watson's relative is a really good chef.
That's right.
Clearly. Clearly.
Well,
I mean, it's just... That's what, I once read this profile of the chefs for Taco Bell, and their responsibility is to come up with different types of menu items. And basically it's the same 4 things that they're just putting in different shapes, right?
Exactly.
That's what a real person does. But you think about what a computer can do. It can take something and mark it as sweet or savory or acidic or non-acidic and say, these are a good combination. And maybe we wouldn't have thought of that before. Because I don't feel offended at all by the notion of a chocolate burrito. I got to tell you that.
I just think they ought to hook this thing up to a robot, maybe one of Google's robots, and just make my dinner. You know what I'm saying? Don't tell me.
A different dinner every day for the rest of your life.
That's
different
right.
combination of foods.
Exactly.
Although when I was pregnant, I ate a lot of Nutella on pita chips, which is weird. So I guess it's kind of the same thing.
They need an IBM computer that simulates pregnancy to come up with all kinds of craving type foods.
Right.
All right. Well, I want to thank you, Natalie, for guest co-anchoring again. Natalie's here all week, and again, thank you for coming in and being our co-anchor.
You're welcome. I really just came into my own office. I live here,
well,
so it wasn't a big imposition.
You're awfully good at it, and we appreciate you being here all week. She'll be here again tomorrow, so thanks again. We'll see you tomorrow.
All righty.
And we'll see you tomorrow as well. Make sure you send your news tips to our email address at tnt@twit.tv. Call 260-TNT-SHOW, and you can leave a message on our voicemail. Also, post and upvote your favorite stories on our subreddit at technewstoday.reddit.com. And find the rest of our social pages by searching for Tech News Today on Twitter, Facebook, Google+, and YouTube. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to Tech News Today, the audio version, the video version, whatever you want, at twit.tv/TNT. My name is Mike Elgin, and we'll see you tomorrow.